You know, in the book you also quoted Martin Luther King saying the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands at moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Where'd you find that, and what's an example for you that's come true?
Well, that was a quote where Coach D'Antonio had repeated it to our team many, many times, to the point where I could just rattle it off to you, and he had it displayed on signs in the football building. And it's so true, you know, in football as in life, you know, when you get beat up, I remember getting hit a couple times in games where my shoulder's hurting or my ankle's hurting, and you know, the last thing you want to do is go back in there and keep fighting through the pain, and yet you realize that, you know, you learn a lot about yourself in those moments when you want to give in, when you want to throw in the towel, call it quits, come back another day. And it's in those moments where you have to dig deeper and find it in yourself to keep fighting. And that's where I think I really grew as a man when I was at Michigan State. You know,
and that leads to this. One of the great lessons, I think, in the book for kids, maybe mine, those subjects that you have that just, how does this pertain to anything I'm going to do? Some of the math classes I had. Why should they fight through some of those courses? Why should they take them as serious as the ones they enjoy?
Well, I say in the book that I do believe I was a much better football player because I took my academics seriously. And I believe that when you start to let things slip in one area of your life, you start to create a habit that may start to infiltrate other areas of your life. I believe it's just hard for me to cut corners in school and then expect to go all out in football. I think that you are a certain way and your character is a certain way, and you need to let that character shine through in every area of your life. So even though the academics may not seem that important, I don't think you should begin cutting quarters, because I think you start to hurt yourself in other areas.
You also talk in the book about shortly after you were drafted, you went to the Ionia prison. How did that experience affect you?
Well, being at the prison in Ionia and getting to see those prisoners' faces, many of whom were in there for life. You know, I'd never spoken to an audience that was as responsive as they were. They were hungry to hear what I had to say, and while I don't believe I gave them any, you know, life-changing news, I think at the same time, just hearing their humility, hearing their eagerness to listen, they didn't act like they knew it all. It really softened my heart and showed me a lot about what it means to be humble before God. And so I believe it was a very life-giving experience for me. Even though you go there thinking that you're going to bless them, they ended up blessing me much more.
Last thing I want to touch on here. You know, Charles Barkley famously said he was no role model. Is there pressure for somebody like you to put that on your shoulders and be one because of the success you've had?
I think it's important to realize that spiritually, when you take a stand for Christ and you're going to be about the right things, the enemy doesn't like that. And there's a target on my back, I do believe, which is why I need a lot of prayer, and which is why I need to be staying in the Word and have Scripture memorized so that I can continue to make the right decisions, because I think that at the end of the day, you know, Satan wants to see me fall, and I need to be very careful in my walk with God and understand that you know, I need to be making the right decisions day in and day out. So writing that book, as much as it was hopefully going to be a help to other people, I think it was a good reminder to me as I wrote it of the things I need to be about day in and day out.
You know, I know there's plenty of backlash on Tim Tebow. Have you experienced some of that? Have you had people say things to you? Or is it just the way you go about it compared to the way he's gone about it?
You know, the backlash has happened. It hasn't been very strong. I think it's been much stronger towards Tim, partly because he's also been much more accomplished on the football field than I have. But certainly there's a little bit. I think that when you are authentic and when you talk about your faith in a way that's natural, I think people don't really get defensive or argumentative because they know it's just coming out of you naturally. I think if I ever began to be fake or to force it on people, then I think that's where you start to have people who don't want to hear it. But as long as I stay true to myself and just be authentic and walk the walk, I haven't encountered too many troubles.
How about so far? What kind of response have you had from this book so far?
It's been a strong response. We sold out on Amazon in the first few days, and
nice.
You know, I feel like it's selling well, and so hopefully, you know, we can get it into the hands of as many middle school, high school, college-age kids as possible. But I really did write it in a way for all ages to read. I wrote it in a way where maybe an 8 or 9-year-old can still get a lot of the principles out of the book, and a 35-year-old can still be reading things and underlining things that are going to benefit them, hopefully too. So wrote it for all ages, but really wanted to gear it towards really young people.
All right, Kirk, thanks.
Thanks, Jack.
Have a great year.
Yeah.